Jason Pollock, and I am here to tell you about the broken healthcare system in America today. In this speech, I'm going to show you how profits, greed, and the bottom line are causing higher premiums and providing for less care in America today. Right now, we're operating under a system with over 800 providers, each with dozens of different healthcare plans. Imagine being a doctor and trying to keep track of all of this. It's quite a job. It's a system where profits come before people, and the bottom line is making money, not providing the best care. Now, I'm not here to give you answers, but I'm going to present a lot of numbers and a lot of other boring data, but it's important that you listen. I'm not asking that you memorize all these numbers and facts and figures. Just asking you to draw your own conclusions. So, our healthcare system today is made up of businesses out to make a profit. The bottom line is what matters, not caring for people. The average cost for a family of 4 is $13,400 a year. Now, that comes from the National Coalition for Healthcare. Employees themselves pay roughly 27% of this cost, while the rest is paid by the employers themselves. This is money that could go to wage increases, for one, increasing the standard of living. Healthcare costs in the last 10 years have increased 131%. That is at 4 times the rate of inflation. The average today, the average costs for your employer to provide health care is more than the average profits that your employer makes. And once again, that is just on an average. Those are pretty astounding numbers when you think of it in terms like that. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that healthcare costs will more than likely double in the next 10 years. That's going to put the cost for healthcare for a family of 4 at almost $25,000 a year. Those are big numbers, and those are real numbers. That's real data. That's money that comes before your payroll. I mean, this is money what would you do with a $25,000 a year raise? Just talk about businesses, small businesses especially, struggling. Well, in 2009, in the most recent study done by the American Journal of Medicine, they found that 62% of all bankruptcies in 2007 were directly related to medical costs. That's an amazing number. Let me say that again. 62% of bankruptcies, and this is coming from the American Journal of Medicine. 62% of bankruptcies linked to medical costs. And out of those 62%, it was found that nearly 80% of those people actually had health insurance at the time. So again, once again, just draw your own conclusions on that one. And people say this all the time, but we in America, we have the best system, right? I mean, this is the best healthcare system in the world. Well, if you define best by the trillions of dollars that you put into the system, well then yes, I suppose that we do have the best because we spend the most. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, which consists of, as a group of 30 of the most economically advanced democratic countries in the world, the U.S. spends more than double the amount on average of the average OECD country, more than double. So the question is, so does this mean that we have better care? Well, the Center for Disease Control, in their most recent study, estimates that the U.S. places 34th for the lowest infant mortality rates. So it means that the U.S. isn't doing so hot in that area. Just as one kind of standard right there. And once again, going back to OECD data, in 2004, they showed that Americans had a shorter lifespan out of those 30 advanced countries. They had a shorter lifespan and a higher mortality rate, once again on average. So that goes back to the questions, is this actually providing us with better care? So, we are, as Americans, we're spending a lot more, and it seems to be that we're getting less. So I guess the question to ask would be, where is all of this money that we're spending, where is it going? Where is it at? Well, let's look at a couple figures here real quick. Pfizer, I'm sure we're all familiar with the pharmaceutical company Pfizer. Well, in 2008, they posted record-breaking profits. Fortune 500 company of $8.1 billion. This is $8.1 billion in profits, okay? Merck, once again, one of the big pharmaceuticals, $7.8 billion in profits in 2008, profits. We just keep on rolling with these numbers here. Eli Lilly, 2007, $2.6 billion in profits. And that's going back to 60% of bankruptcies caused by medical expenses. And we can't figure out why. David Himmelstein, an associate professor at Harvard and a doctor at Cambridge Medical School, stated that roughly 31 cents out of every dollar that Americans spend on healthcare is spent on non-healthcare related costs. These are the administrative costs that go into maintaining a system that consists of over 800 different providers, each with dozens of different healthcare plans. So it's an amazingly complex system, and who's left to sort it out? It's the practitioners themselves and the families who have to deal with it. Just to give you an idea of where some other countries stand on that, Canada spends about 3 cents per dollar on healthcare, or on non-healthcare related costs in their healthcare system. And yes, Canada has the nationwide socialized healthcare system. So, like I said, my goal here tonight was not to bore everybody here with a bunch of numbers and percentages. My goal was just to bring to light the huge dollar amounts that we're talking about when it comes to healthcare. Like I said, our current healthcare system, it's motivated by profits. It's motivated by the bottom line. It's motivated by the stockholders that they're due to make money off of sick people in America, or more specifically, who make money by not caring for the sick people in America. And I've seen what happens personally. I've seen what happens to families who have been hit with unexpected medical costs. It destroys lives. Families are devastated. And all this is happening here in the most prosperous country in America. So, these are just a brief set of numbers, and just ask you to draw your own